Now that the craziness of the Daytona cutoff race is behind us, we can finally talk about the 2023 NASCAR playoffs. Who's a contender to get into the Final Four at Phoenix? Who's going out first round? And what is your favorite driver doing this postseason? Let's talk about it all today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before Ricky Stenhouse is out in round one, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you come on back for the next video, and make sure that you stay logged on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way right now. I am not doing a playoff bracket, because inevitably one wreck, one flat tire, one bad situation changes the playoff situation so dramatically, and this isn't college football, it's motorsports. So this is what the playoffs look like going into the first round. Yes, there are some that have a clear advantage over others. That's just racing in general, and that boils down to they had a better first 26 weeks than anybody else. But now is kind of a great equalizer. It doesn't matter what you did earlier this season, it only matters what you do from this point on. So let's go ahead and talk about it numerically, starting with Ross Chastain. Yeah, he had a great season last year, but let's be honest, the only reason he got into the Final Four was because of the Hail Melon. Honestly, he won at Nashville in June, but since then he only has a single top 10 with that 7th place out at Michigan. He's honestly just been a little inconsistent the last few weeks, and this is the time when you really have to turn up the wick. Now, maybe Trackhouse has been, hiding something up until this point, and maybe they're going to turn it up in the postseason. But at the moment, I see him as a guy that could make it into the round of 8, but could be out in the round of 16. We'll have to keep an eye on him. Kevin Harvick is in his final year. He just simply has no speed right now. Stewart-Haas as a whole is struggling, and Harvick is clearly the diamond in the rough over at SHR, but honestly, they've been an 8th to 12th place car, and that's just simply not going to get it done. You have to be a top 2 car when it really counts, and honestly, I don't think this team and this car is currently capable of it. I do think that Harvick definitely has the potential to go all the way if he's in better equipment, but at best, round of 8. Worst, he's out round 1 in the round of 16. Kyle Larson is another one of those guys that's either on fire or DNFing, literally. He has 10 top 5s this season, which is really good, but he also has 6 DNFs. That's just not going to cut it. Now, I do see him being the guy that honestly could turn it up in the playoffs, and it's Kyle freaking Larson. He has the talent to do it. He's with the best team in the garage area, arguably, so they definitely have Final Four potential. But on the other hand, couple of bad races and he could be out in the round of 16. Larson seriously has that spectrum this season, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Brad Keselowski is definitely a guy that we should keep an eye on because RFK as a whole is getting stronger. He definitely proved at Daytona he's a team owner who's going to be playing the teammate better than the driver. And for that reason alone, makes me feel like maybe he's never going to make another playoff run and really make it into the Final Four. I see Keselowski going either all the way to the round of 8 or getting out very early on, because keep in mind he's one of the guys that doesn't have a win this season. Kyle freaking Busch. Here's a guy we really got to keep an eye on because this is such an unknown. The team really doesn't have a whole lot of history going deep into the postseason. Kyle, a 2-time champ, obviously does, but he's only led about 7 laps since Nashville. That's just simply not going to cut it. I feel like this team is on a downward trend right now, and because of that, I see him either going out in the round of 12 or maybe even making it all the way to the Final Four. Denny Hamlin. Everybody's saying he's a Final Four contender, which, yes, he does have that consistency. He's the guy who's in the top 5, but honestly, I don't know. Something just seems to be a little off, and I think because of the contract negotiations, because of everything going on with 2311, he, like Brad, might be pulling that team owner role, and I don't know necessarily if he's going to make the Final Four. He definitely has the potential, but a couple of bad races and he could go out as early as the round of 12. Ryan Blaney set the world on fire when he won the Coke 600, no doubt about it, but since then, he's gone from leading the points to 13th. This guy has no speed. Penske as a whole is struggling right now. And yeah, Joey Logano last year proved maybe you just win one race and you're good for Phoenix, but I don't feel like that's Blaney. Blaney's always been that guy who's just outside the top 10 or just inside the top 10. I see him out either in the round of 12 or the round of 16. I don't see him going further than that. This is the guy you really got to keep an eye on, though. Chris Buescher. 3 of the last 5 races have ended in wins at 3 very different tracks. This guy's on fire right now, and so is RFK as a whole. This guy honestly is a serious Final Four contender. I see him either making it into the Final Four out at Phoenix or going out in the round of 8. He's either barely going to get into that Final Four or barely miss out on it. I truly think that. Martin Truex Jr. is hands down the favorite going into the postseason, no doubt about it. He's your regular season champ, as if anybody cares about that. And he's the guy who does have a few wins, and because of that, he has a leg up on everybody else. And yes, he should make the Final Four. He's almost a lock-in to make the Final Four. But a couple things don't go his way, he could be out in the round of 8. So, gotta keep an eye on MTJ. This could go either way. The flip side of that JGR coin is Christopher Bell. Bell has 5 top 10s in the last 15 races, and we just found out that he's actually getting Ty Gibbs' pit crew, as those two teams are doing a pit crew swap, which is honestly a really smart move because the 54 crew have been on fire all season long. Big surprise, the grandson of the owner is getting all the good guys. But putting that pit crew to the 20 makes so much sense. He's either going out in the round of 12 or the round of 8. I'm leaning more towards the round of 12, but we have to wait and see. Joey Logano did pick up a victory at Atlanta earlier this season, but really hasn't done a whole lot since. And honestly, last season I said he's not going to make the Final Four, no way, and he goes out and wins Vegas. He definitely could pull that rabbit out of his hat this year, but honestly, they're just slower as an organization this year, so it's definitely going to have to be an uphill battle. But honestly, it's Penske, and they know how to pull rabbits out of their ass, and it really wouldn't surprise me if they did this year again. Bubba Wallace, first time he's in the playoffs ever in his career. He's honestly always been that 11th to 20th place guy. He's going to be strong at Kansas, and because of that alone, I do think he's capable of making the round of 8. But a couple things go bad, he could be out as early as the round of 12 or even 16, so keep an eye on Bubba Wallace. William Byron is definitely one of those Final Four contenders. 5 wins this season, which not only surpasses his career high, but also is leading the series right now. He's honestly a Final Four threat. Serious Final Four threat. He's either making the Final Four or going out in the round of 8. I don't see him going out in the round of 12, even if he has some bad races, because of everybody else on this list. Michael McDowell. He's a guy who honestly is probably going out round 1. He's the Cinderella story. This organization making the postseason is a massive deal for them. But they've made the playoffs in the past, and we all know how that turned out. So this organization making the round of 12 would be like winning the championship. I don't necessarily know if it's possible. Yes, some other teams are doing pretty badly, but he's going to have to turn it up, and he seemed to have gone a little cold the last couple of weeks. So he's either going out in the round of 12 or the round of 16. Keep an eye on McDowell. He might be the sleeper here. Tyler Reddick is just simply all over the place. So is 23XI as a whole. Honestly, they won at COTA earlier this year, and that was spectacular for them. But since then, not much of anything. I think he's going out either in the round of 16 or could maybe even make it all the way to the round of 8, depending on how the playoffs play out for other drivers. This guy is almost guaranteed going out in the round of 16, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who honestly just hasn't even really had a top 5 since his 500 win in February. He's good at Bristol, he's good at Dega, but you can't really count on those 2 tracks to make it into the next round of the playoffs. Honestly, he's probably out round 1. I don't see how he's not. If I had to pick a Final Four right now heading into the playoffs, I gotta pick Byron, Truex, Buescher, and Larson. Those 4 probably stand the best chance, but Denny Hamlin is in that conversation as well, and Kyle Busch honestly could be a threat for the Final Four as well. Let me know your Final Four predictions in the comments below, and make sure that you mash that subscribe button while you're there, and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.